Hello, hello, hello. Who's on here? Hello. I see numbers. Hello. It's Vincy Lou Who. How are you? It's getting ready to storm here, girlfriend. I'm hoping it'll hold off until I get done here. Whew. To be just in time for bedtime. I do like sleeping through some storms. Hey, Vincy, are you guys gonna get? I know that the Cristobal is supposed to, there's, as of right now, we all know how that can change, but as of right now, are you guys going to get hit with any of it? I know it's supposed to go right up through NOLA and stuff, but hey, Pebbles. Hey, Maggie. Ori's got her phone. Ori's got her phone, which means Maudrey's got her computer. It hasn't rained here today. It started sprinkling, and I brought all the cushions in off the patio furniture so that I wouldn't have to sit in wet cushions. But Ori's been dealing with rain all day. Miss Maggie, I think you're a little new to us, aren't you? Ori, I know who wears the pants in your house, darling. I done figured that out, and it ain't you. She should be here. I just talked to her. She messaged me to make sure it was on YouTube and not the Nookie. So I told her she was having a problem to try to subscribe. If she still had a problem commenting, then she could message me or you and we would get it. So she should be here. I'm pretty sure she is. Margarita. Okay, I remember you from Miss Maggie. Aren't you the one? Didn't you listen to us on Facebook a lot? Aren't you? Are you the one that's French? Hey, Miss Surly. How are you? But Ori, I've got my phone sitting here, so hopefully she can message one of us, and we can just tell. Oh, girl, I got me a Limerita going tonight. That's a different kind of drink, too. Okay. All righty. It's 8:06, so let's get started here for the storm hits. Got a storm coming in, so I'm hoping to get everything done. I'm going to read chapters 1 and 2 and maybe part of 3, depending on how fast I get through 1 and 2 and where the sky's at. So, all right. It's called A Witch's Proposition by S. Ravenstone. Storm. Got 2 storms tonight. So, I'm so excited because it's a witches. I like witches. It's called A Witch's Proposition, A Bewitching Tale. So, alrighty, so let's get started here. Woo! I'm clean some of his glasses off here in a second. I know, isn't that cover pretty good? It's gorgeous. Okay, so Silver sat in the small booth as her hand gained heat from her second cup of coffee. Her chestnut brown eyes surveyed the busy street in search of her sister Olivia. She pushed her long black hair off her shoulders, reminding herself she needed a trim. Silver looked down at her watch. Olivia was 15 minutes late. She didn't know why she was always on time or before time when she knew Olivia was always late. She wished she'd stayed home watching television and folded the clothes lying in her clothes basket instead of sitting in a restaurant looking like a jilted fool waiting for Olivia. Silver loved her sister, but Olivia had no sense of time or concerns about the feelings of others. Silver and Olivia were different as night and day. Silver, a year older, was always grounded with an organized, quiet lifestyle. Olivia, on the other hand, loved her wild devil may care lifestyle. Let me read that again because that didn't come out right. Olivia, on the other hand, loved her wild devil may care lifestyle. She treated each day as if it were one big happy party. That sounds like Ori. She did make it. Yes, we can see you. Yes, ma'am, I do see you. You are on there. You are good. She'd been that way all her life. In some ways, Silver wished she could be carefree like her sister, but she'd dealt with enough heartache to taint any hopes for happiness. Between her father's mysterious disappearance, her mother's death, and the countless men who could never match up to her vision of a real man, be it human or warlock, love and fun were just a fleeting, wishful thought. The waitress approached the table and with a look of amazement whispered, "How?" Silver looked down and noticed she was absent-mindedly stirring her coffee. At least she was magically. Silver waved her hand over the cup, immediately stopping the spoon from spinning. She then waved her hand towards the young woman. After a few blinks of her blue eyes, the woman said, "Can I get you some more coffee, or would you like to order something else?" "I'm waiting for my sister. I'll order later, thank you." Silver, I keep want to say Sylvia because it's Olivia. Silver replied sweetly. Once again, she glanced at her watch and wondered where Olivia could be. It was at that moment Olivia walked through the door. Her long jet black hair was in a tangled mess. Her smooth cafe au latte skin and eyes were shining as she spotted Silver. Even in a state of disarray, her beauty was undeniable. Some men let their eyes follow her to the table. She ignored them all as she flopped down with the grace of a 5-year-old, causing Silver to roll her eyes upward. I know I'm late, so please, no lectures. I got so wrapped up in this new project, she announced as she placed an old leather-worn book on the table. Yes, this is going to be very Southern because I just happen to have a very Southern accent, especially when I'm talking female language voices. Let's see. Before Silver could ask about the book, Olivia stood up and yelled across the room, "Two coffees, scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast, please." Then sat back down, ignoring all the patron stares. It was true she was delayed by the mystery in Grandpa Major's book, but it was Tony, the warlock from the Bloodstone Coven, that made her late. She was hoping Tony had some answers to her questions, but instead, all he had to offer was a light touch of the tongue. Olivia smiled to herself. Having Tony lick her clit was most enjoyable and one she planned on replaying soon. All right, you ladies, you might want to get that hot flash kit out. But his useless information led her back to square one. Olivia knew Silver would be pissed about her being late. But Silver was always pissed about something. Olivia wanted to tell her a tightly rolled joint, a stiff shot of liquor, and an even stiffer dick would save the day for her. Silver took life too seriously, especially since her last breakup. Olivia wished she'd stopped looking for Mr. Perfect and just enjoy the ride. Me too. I wished I could just enjoy a ride. Olivia took a deep breath. This is Grandpa Major's journal. It was in the box Aunt Grace had in the attic. Olivia announced as she looked for the waitress, then sticking her tongue out suggestively to one of the men staring at her. Silver tapped the table to gain Olivia's attention. Why do you have it? I mean, what's so important about an old journal? Silver asked as she waited for the waitress to bring Olivia's coffee, hoping the food would follow soon. The smell of bacon frying, along with the smell of cooked onions, made her stomach rumble. She was hungry. Remember the stories Grandpa Major would tell us about the silver goblet? It's in here. All the information, everything about it, Olivia said excitedly. Liv, his stories were foolish tales that elders sometimes told their grandchildren. Silver shook her head, pushing the book out of the way before thanking the young, wide-eyed waitress. Besides, why are you so engrossed in this? Are you kidding me? Do you know the power the magical cup possesses? It has the power to double, no, triple any witch's powers. That alone is reason to be engrossed. Olivia rolled her eyes as a way of letting Silver know how ignorant she thought the question was. Okay, say the tales are true. Why haven't we heard of this goblet before now, other than from the old man? Surely others would know about it, or at least talk about this magical cup in conversation if it's that powerful. Silver shook her head. I don't remember Grandpa's powers being that special. Why didn't it work for him? She stopped talking once the waitress approached the table with what was now considered brunch due to the time. I don't know, Sil. That's why I sent our names into the local covens, the ones Mommy used to belong to. You know, Bloodstone and Blackwing. You did what? Silver shouted, causing others to turn in the direction. Liv, you had no right. You shouldn't have done that. I'm not interested in joining a coven, and especially not any of the covens Mom belonged to and left by the way for some unknown reason. Exactly. We don't know why she left. It could have been something simple and minute. When the food arrived, Olivia picked up a strip of bacon and pointed it at Silver. Silver Elizabeth Weber, you need to get in touch with your calling and your heritage. You are the most powerful witch I know. Act like it. And then took a bite of her bacon. This can be the adventure of a lifetime. What else do you have planned in your mundane life? Silver simply covered her eyes and shook her head. Suddenly she had lost her appetite. Silver was happy to speak of other things, leaving the journal and magic goblet talk for later. There was something about that journal that gave Silver an eerie feeling. She just couldn't put her finger on it. Olivia wanted Silver to come home with her. The thoughts of spending the day talking about utter nonsense and being away from home didn't appeal to her. There was a time when she and Olivia spoke of moving in together, but Olivia was lower west side of Manhattan and Silver the east side. And honestly, within a month, they would have killed one another. And I know I sound nothing like Manhattan. I couldn't even pretend to sound like Manhattan. So, we're going to pretend like they transplanted up there. However, with the cost of living increasing, Silver wished they would revisit the conversation and come to terms with some things. Working on Wall Street was profitable to a degree, yet she was still struggling to make ends meet. Even with the nest egg her mom left them, money was an issue. Silver wrinkled her nose, knowing if she used the money in the bank, life would be easier. Okay, if you won't come home with me, I'll put my nose up in the air and come home with you, Olivia said while holding her head up haughtily. Great. Hope you're in the mood to fold clothes. Oh, I thought you'd be part of the dry cleaning set. She laughed, snapping her fingers, making the journal on the table disappear. Seconds after they entered the Uber, Olivia's phone rang. Hello? She sang into the phone. What? Wait, I have Silver with me. Let me put you on speakerphone. Yes. Hi, Silver. Girls, I found a dead bird straight to my door with a note saying, we want the magic goblet. With her voice raised, she shouted, I have no idea what this means. What goblet? I have no idea what the hell is going on. Oh my God! Olivia knew that a dead bird meant death or the clipping of a witch's powers. Liv, who all did you tell about the goblet? Silver cried, worried about Aunt Grace now being involved and threatened. No one! I swear! The only thing I did was Google a few things about a magic goblet and speak to the local covens. The watch! Aunt Grace cried. By the powers be, you alerted the watch, Olivia. The watch? They both shouted, looking at one another. Yes, a powerful organization that keeps an eye on all supernatural activities concerning the world of magic to make sure all is done according to magic laws. They are the police, the law, the judgment, Aunt Grace sighed as she cradled Charmed, her cat. I wish my sister hadn't kept you two so guarded and removed. I need the two of you here now. We need to figure out what the hell kind of damage has been done, she broadcast loudly. I didn't do anything, Auntie. I know it's supposed to be Auntie, but I'm a Southern girl. I didn't do anything, Auntie, Silver proclaimed. She knew there was going to be trouble the moment she saw the book. Silver tapped the glass partition and told the driver to take them to Brooklyn. Silver, she said, now. Olivia tapped the window, instructing the driver to pull over. Once the vehicle stopped, Silver paid the man, got out, and with long strides, she walked into the narrow alley. Olivia was on her heels as they both looked around to make sure the coast was clear. With a wave of an arm and a snap of a finger, they disappeared. Standing in Aunt Grace's living room, both women felt as if they'd been sent to the principal's office as they both stood standing with hands clasped in front of them. Aunt Grace faced the two with her hands resting comfortably on her wide, shapely hips as her large double D cup breast heaved up and down in a cartoonish way. She had aged gracefully over the years, although her jet black hair now supported her more gray than black. The graceful woman's salt and pepper hair hung well below her waist, which still showed dimension. I can't tell you how serious this matter is. We are all in danger, Aunt Grace said as she poured red wine into the 3 glasses that sat on the table. How did this come to be? She asked. Silver turned her head to Olivia while she pouted her lips, hinting Olivia was responsible for this situation. The box in the attic, it contained Grandpa Major's journal. The journal talks about the power of the magic goblet, she whispered as she removed the journal from her pocketbook. Olivia carefully placed the leather bound book in the center of the table. Aunt Grace snatched the book up with less fanfare than Olivia in sitting it down. Aunt Grace began to flip through the pages. She stopped occasionally to read something in detail, then continued turn the pages. When her brows knitted together, she looked up at Olivia and shook her head in disbelief. Did you ever think this was just wishful thinking on Da's part? If he found the goblet, why didn't we know anything about it? That's exactly what I said, Silver announced boastfully. I wasn't thinking about the aftermath. I was looking at the what if. Well, my niece, it's a true bet. The watch is looking at the aftermath. If there is any truth to the magical goblet bullshit, we better find it and fast. Since the book tells of the goblet and his trials at finding it, why not start from the end and find out what he actually ascertained to? Silver suggested, taking a large gulp of wine. Silver enjoyed the warmth of the alcohol that surged through her veins, then radiated through her body. I hate to ask you girls this, and believe me, it's not because I'm afraid of anything, but I really would feel better if you stayed the night. I waited for you to come before casting a spell to protect the house. Still, well, Aunt Grace said quietly, I'd feel better if you were here. Sure. I mean, we would never leave you after what just happened, right, Olivia? Silver asked. Sure, Olivia replied with a shrug of her shoulders. Okay, so how about pizza and a movie? Aunt Grace announced as she grabbed the telephone directory and that sat under the table. Silver and Olivia looked at each other and broke out in laughter. Really, Aunt Grace? A phone book? How retro, Olivia laughed. I have a smartphone, but I like turning pages and looking at ads. Did you know they also have coupons in the back? They all laughed. It was the first time that day that either had laughed. Time seemed to fly, yet reading the journal backwards, as Silver suggested, gave them nothing. However, they found strength together until the doorbell rang and their eyes widened in shock as their bodies froze, until Silver remembered the pizza that they had ordered. Once again, laughter rang as Olivia went to open the door. The young delivery boy politely handed Olivia the 2 large boxes and waited for her to sign the receipt. The young man began to blush as Olivia flirted with him blatantly, which caused him to stammer over his words. Pizza, please, before it becomes a frozen TV dinner, Aunt Grace shouted from the living room. When Olivia returned with the pizza, she placed the boxes on the table they'd cleaned off. She smiled when Aunt Grace placed the white and blue Corningware plates down. She remembered fondly the many dinners growing up eaten on the classic plates. I didn't think the young boy would interest you, Aunt Grace announced. He's young and teachable. Plus, he's cute. Olivia laughed, wetting her lips seductively. That's awful. He's a child, Silver whispered more to herself than to Olivia. Really, I was having a little fun, Sil. When was the last time you had a little fun? Or man? I have fun, Liv, just not your type of fun. You know, not every woman needs a man to complete them. Okay, girls, enough. We are supposed to have a nice, peaceful night of pizza and a movie. Aunt Grace intervened. I have another idea. Why not eat pizza, watch a 30-minute show, then we can tell to Grandpa about the cup, Olivia said as she piled her plate full of 1 slice of pepperoni and 2 slices of sausage and mushroom pizza and cheese pizza. Oh, yeah. What? Are you crazy? Silver shook her head wildly, reminding her again that she needed a trim. You want to have a seance? You have a better idea? We can read this book backward and forward and scratch our heads trying to decipher Grandpa's riddles and clues, or just freaking ask him. Olivia responded as if the idea had was no big deal. I don't know. When you mess with the other side, there can be serious consequences. It's sort of like letting the genie out of the bottle. It can be hell getting him back in, Aunt Grace said quietly as she nibbled on the crust of her pizza, then fed Charmed a slice of pepperoni. Yeah, I've said that to Nina a time or two. She's like, "Oh, he's too young." I said, "He's trainable." Well, does anyone have a better solution? Olivia asked. We can tell the watch that we don't have the goblet and give them the book and let them figure it out, Silver said, not wanting to continue down what she felt would be a road they might not return from. Let's eat, then we can decide. Right now, I'm not too keen on either idea. However, I have nothing to contribute, Aunt Grace said. They ate in silence. The only sound consisted of the comedy sitcom on the television. It was no surprise that everyone remained deep in their own thoughts. They had no clear solution in the problem. There was no denying their lives were in danger, and the goblet was the key. Ooh, I see male names, Vincy. Chapter 2. Maverick listened carefully to the excuses Dom continued to make. A dark curl fell across his forehead. His eyes closed as his hands gripped the arm of his throne. Slowly he raised his head. His dark brown eyes appeared black as coal. With a twisted sneer, he hissed, I don't give a shit about how they got into my city. I want to know who the fuck is in my city, Dom. All I know is that Rosamond and Granger have nothing to do with this. They are as shocked by this revelation as we are, Dom said quietly, doing his best not to piss Maverick off any more than he has. Maverick knew damn well Rosamond, the warlock leader of the Bronx and Staten Island, would never cross him. He was new and had his hands full of getting his people in line. Granger was one of his closest friends and mentor. Granger ran all of Brooklyn and Queens. He trusted Granger with his life. No, there was a new player in town, and for some reason he was gunning for the Manhattan territory. Maverick's territory. The Watch was a large group, and the leaders worked together, and no one crossed them until now. How did this renegade put his plan into action in my city without anyone noticing his movements? Hell, he could have taken over Staten Island's Nassau and Suffolk County. No one controls that shit. The Watch would love to add another player to the game, but not like this. Hell no, not like this. Maverick jumped up from his chair, walking over to Dom. He said, find something or don't come back. Dom bowed deeply as he backed out of the room. He was leery about turning his back to Maverick. Don passed Jonathan in the hall and shook his head. He felt sorry for Jonathan, but elated that he'd broken his news first. With the mood Maverick was in, it was a possibility he'd never see Jonathan again. Maverick, I have no idea who this guy is, but he's recruited some of Lower East Side as his own. There's a power shield up preventing a local spell from working. I think he's made that section his hiding place, Jonathan announced. No shit, is that what you think? You come in with no name, no witnesses, no clues, and act as if you've given me the world? Maverick stood with his thick, muscular legs spread apart, raising his hand as he shot a blue laser blast across the side of Jonathan's face. The scream that escaped from Jonathan rang throughout the chamber. Shut up and be thankful I've let your miserable ass live, Maverick barked, kicking the small wooden stool beside him. Get the hell out of here and get me some fucking answers. Alone in the room, Maverick lit three candles, one red and two black. The red represented blood, and the others black for power and guidance. Stretching out his arms, he chanted, "The powers that be, let me see the one who seeks to destroy me." The street that appeared held a heavy fog of smoke. Maverick knew it was a cloaking spell that hampered his sight, but he recognized the area, and indeed it was where Jonathan said the demon dog was camped. Opening the bay window, Maverick looked out. His eyes searched the sky with a large until a large blackbird finally came into view. It perched itself on the wide windowsill, looking Maverick in his eyes without blinking. The dark, glassy eyes reflected the flickering candles and its master. Maverick narrowed his gaze and gently said, "Be my eyes and my ears. Don't be my eyes and my ears. Tell me what you find." The raven lifted his head in agreement and flew into the night. Maverick didn't fear the challenge ahead. He was ready for whatever the future held. His sour mood was more from the interloper's lack of respect and the possibility of a mutiny. Maverick spoke aloud as if the mystery man could hear him. "Two can play this game. Keep your little patch of security, but you must show yourself to get the rest." Maverick sat at his table, mixing and adding different herbs together in a large wooden bowl. He then poured distilled water upon the herbs and chanted a spell that turned the water and herbs a dark green. He walked over to the open window and threw the mixture into the outside air. He could see the green glow blowing in the wind. His shield was in place. A protected border had been placed around his territory. No one and nothing could penetrate the shield without the counterspell. He took a deep breath and realized how tired he felt. Using the intercom on the wall, he called for his servant Marie to bring him some heated brandy, along with cheese and crackers. When she appeared in the doorway, he beckoned her to come closer. When she reached him, Maverick grabbed her wrist and said, "I'm tired, and I doubt if the brandy and cheese is going to do the trick." Marie was a small woman with large breasts and an even larger mouth. He'd been with her before and knew she had feelings for him, but his desire was one of purpose, need, and nothing more. Tonight, he didn't even want to fuck. All he needed was release, and her mouth was the thing he longed for. Maverick sat in one of his self designed high backed throne chairs fit for a king, the king of Manhattan's magical underworld. In the silent room, the sound of his zipper being released was almost deafening. Reaching inside his pants, he unleashed his thick, long cock, sighing at the release of its confinement. He sat back, adjusting his broad back against the throne's mahogany frame. Closing his eyes, he waited. Maverick could sense Marie kneeling between his gaping, muscular legs. The firm hold of her hand on his dick made him squeeze the sides of his chair as her hot breath brought life to his smooth crown. The warmth and wet feel of her mouth was what he needed. When his cock entered her mouth, he encouraged her to take all of him. Marie slid her mouth up and down his enormous shaft, taking more inch by inch, increasing her intake, increasing her intake with each stroke until she was able to take all of him down her throat. She gained a rhythm that allowed her to lick, suck, and nip at his member while squeezing his balls lightly. It wasn't long before his hand held her head to his cock as he pumped wildly in her mouth. He ignored the gag sounds that escaped her throat. He was too far gone to stop, and he didn't until he released his hot cum down the back of her throat. When she began to gasp for air, he pushed her onto the plush carpet. Maverick knew Marie wanted more. She was a willing vessel, eager to please him. He touched the side of her face. "Thank you, Marie, but if you want more sport, I suggest you seek Jonathan. I believe he may be in need of comfort." He knew that wasn't what she wanted to hear, but he could see in her eyes that she planned to take him up on the offer. Sleep didn't come easy, even with Marie's help. Maverick was still tense and restless. He was on edge, trying to figure out the stranger's next moves. Aunt Grace prepared the table using all the paraphernalia used in seances. Once she had everything arranged to her satisfaction, she placed candles on the table. She looked to see if her nieces were ready to begin. Grace lit the candles and turned out the lights. The room, now in eerie glows, seemed to set the mood. Silver and Olivia sat down, joined hands, and listened carefully as Aunt Grace repeated the instructions needed to produce a successful seance. Silver really wanted to talk about other options and bypass the dramatic route they were now partaking in. Aunt Grace could never say no to Olivia, but today would have been a good day to start. Even when Aunt Grace began to back away from the ideal, Olivia made it a point to pout and throw a temper tantrum, and like always, it worked. Aunt Grace quietly explained that the summoning of the dead could be a tedious and draining process, and in some cases, not very successful. It's like making a phone call and getting the right person on the other end, she stated. When she was ready, Aunt Grace called for her father to appear. This took several tries all with the same result, nothing. Silver was happy and ready to go home. Let me try, Olivia said, agitated by the disappointing outcome. Grandpa Mason, it's Olivia. We need you. It's urgent, please. We need your help, she pleaded. The room grew cold and the candles flickered, and I can't read tonight, y'all. I don't know what's wrong with me. Suddenly, a cone of smoke billowed into a funnel in the middle of the room. They gasped, and as if on cue, Mason Weber appeared. Aunt Grace said in a heartfelt voice, "Duh, you come for Olivia, but not for me. Why?" She said it was urgent. I don't have much time, but much time, what is it you need from me? He said curtly. His gray eyes seemed haunting and his color pale. Charmed jumped up on the counter and began to hiss. When Mason turned to view the cat, it ran out of the room. Memories of her grandfather washed over Silver like an ocean wave. Silver always found her grandfather to be rude and rigid. She guessed death didn't help his disposition. We need to know about the magic goblet, Grandpa, Olivia cried as she gripped Silver's hand. It's in my journal, he barked. I know, we know, but we don't have time to read and try to figure out all the riddles, she replied. Read the journal, it holds the clues, he replied with little regard to what Olivia was saying. We're in mortal danger, Da, Aunt Grace whined. I've explained all concerning the magic goblet in my book. Are you kidding me? We need your help now, Silver shouted. Just tell us what we need to know and you can go back to wherever you came from. Why can't you do that simple little thing? Because I choose not to, child. We summoned you because we need your help, but I can see you're still just a bitter old man, Olivia said. He laughed, saying, and you're still a spoiled child, not willing to put a little extra work in. Then he was gone. Yeah, go back to hell, old man, Olivia shouted in the air. Well, that was productive, Silver broadcast. Now what are we supposed to do? Sit around until they come for us? No, we are a powerful line of witches. Why in the hell should we be cowering in the corner waiting for the watch to come to make a move against us? Let's take the fight to them. In the meantime, Silver can read the journal and find the clues, Olivia stated. What? I don't want any part of this. I never have. Now you want me to read that dreadful man's rantings to find a clue to something that may or may not exist? For the love of the ancestors, why? Because whether we believe the goblet exists or not, there's someone who does, and they are willing to kill us to get it, Aunt Grace explained. True, but why not just contact the watch and tell them the whole story? Hell, give them the damn book, Silver exclaimed. No, I want the power. I want it. I want the power, Olivia shouted. Yes, let's die so Olivia can have more power and become the super witch she desires to be, Silver mocked. Maybe with the power I could defeat the watch. I have such a headache, and the two of you aren't helping it. It's late. Let's get some rest and tackle this tomorrow, Aunt Grace suggested. Silver didn't want to stay the night. She wished she'd stayed home washing clothes instead of being in this mess. Since she and Olivia had grown up in the house and spent countless nights sleeping over, they had a room of their own. Memories of Silver's mother resurfaced as she climbed the stairs to the upper level. The house belonged in the family for at least a century. It has stood the test of time through several generations. The rooms were large and spacious. The first level held the kitchen, dining room, sitting room, library, bathroom, and closed-in porch. 5 bedrooms and 1 bath made up the second floor, which in today's calculations made no sense whatsoever. The third level contained the attic, which was as large as the house itself. Silver and Olivia's room showed no signs of abandonment. The musty, dusty smell of the room confirmed years of vacancy. Silver laughed. The last time she slept in the bedroom was 4 years ago, a year after their mother's death. Aunt Grace had them come over because she thought their mother, her sister Hope, was haunting her. Turns out it was the furnace in the cellar in need of repairs. Silver opened the window to let some fresh air in. Olivia must have thought the room stale too, for she left and came back with a stick of incense to burn. Olivia snapped her fingers, which made a loud popping sound. A bluish flame lit the tip of the incense stick. Olivia said, "Back to where it all began, huh?" She smiled as she waved the stick around, letting the smoke cut through the air. Yeah, Silver sighed. I miss Mom. Olivia put her arms around her sister. Me too, sis. I'm glad I still have you. Silver smiled as they squeezed each other in a tight embrace. Okay, she's got this chapter 3 divided into parts, so I'm just going to read a part at a time until we get close to 9. Chapter 3. Maverick inhaled deeply. The start of a new day usually rejuvenated him. Today, it just meant the start of new problems. He looked at his cell phone on the end table and realized he had a missed call from Granger. He sighed when he noticed there was no message left. With that information, he decided to disregard the call, opting instead for a long, hot shower in hopes of preparing him for a day. The hot water ran over his broad shoulders, down the planes of his six-pack. He let his hands travel the path to his extended rod. With a lathered hand on his rock-hard penis, he began to work vigorously, sliding up and down. It wasn't long before he ejaculated along the shower wall, then watched as it washed away with the jet stream. He'd just begun to relax when he heard Jonathan call his name. Shit, he said to himself as if he knew something was coming to fuck up his day. Maverick dried off, slipping into his silk robe before entering his outer chamber. A slight frown graced his handsome face as he viewed Dom, Jonathan, and Granger sitting in the wingback chairs across from his high-back chair. Maverick rarely allowed guests in his antechamber, but this was Granger, his mentor, one of the few people whom he trusted in his private life. Granger's long gray hair rested on his shoulders. His icy blue eyes were as sharp as an eagle. His thin lips, tightly closed, resembled kings from the past. Granger was 20 years older than Maverick, but the warlock didn't look a day over 40. Good morning, Sonny. His voice. Let me get that different. Good morning, Sonny. His voice boomed as a smile graced his slightly wrinkled face. Morning. Sorry I missed your call earlier. I was going to call you once I started my day. No problem. Thought I'd pop over and give you some news from the underground. Maverick sighed deeply as he sank into his chair. So, what's the word on the street? That someone has set up camp in your district to find a missing magical chalice? Granger said. A what? Maverick asked, placing his elbow on his knee and his fist under his chin as he leaned forward. A magical chalice, a goblet if you wish. It said one sip from it will magnify any warlock's powers. Granger threw his hands in the air, revealing rings on each finger. You know of this chalice, its history, and where it could be? Maverick asked. No, I'm not some damn pirate looking for a fucking treasure or a chest full of gold. I'm not one for fairy tales and myths. Granger stood. My concern is about some asshole thinking he can skip his happy ass in a claimed area without permission. He let the air escape his lungs before adding, he's stirring up a bunch of shit with no regards for the outcome. If he did it to you, he could try to do it to me or give some other idiot the fucking idea to do the same. That, my boy, is where I come into this picture. I understand completely. All I can say at this moment is that I'm working on getting some answers. I had no idea about the goblet or whatever the shit is, but know this. I'm as pissed about the idiot as you are, if not more. Good. Whatever you need, I'm here. Thank you. I appreciate your help in this matter. I'm working on getting the information on the chalice and have put the word out on the street that I'm to know about anything out of the norm, Dom added, letting Maverick know he's been busy trying to find out whatever information he could. Who in their right mind would challenge the watch? Maverick questioned more to himself than the other two. Whoever the motherfucker is, I hope he's thought of a plan B because there's going to be hell to pay, Granger broadcast. Yes, it will be necessary that he's made an example of publicly, Maverick added. I'll leave everything in your hands, Sonny, Granger announced, and with a wave of his hand, he was gone. Silver woke to the smell of bacon cooking. She could hear the sizzle of the grease and wondered what else there was to eat. She sat up in bed, stretched, then looked over and smiled at her sister's still frame. Olivia's hair covered her face and one leg hung off the side of the bed. This was a prime opportunity for Silver to take a shower since there was only one bathroom on the top floor. She looked in the tall dresser drawer and found a pair of black athletic pants and a long t-shirt with the Rolling Stones logo on it. She smiled, thinking of her youth. The bathroom is large with an old foot tub and pipe shower. Unlike her glass shower stall at home, it only supported a curtain. She snapped her fingers and smiled at the bottle of coconut lime body wash she held in her hand. It wasn't long before she felt like herself under the hot stream of water with the fragrant smell home. Silver dried off and dressed quickly as her stomach rumbled, reminding her of the breakfast being prepared downstairs. Good morning, she sang as she entered the kitchen. Silver kissed her aunt's plump cheek as she viewed the spatula across the room as it flipped pancakes on the griddle. Morning, she replied, then smiled as she viewed Silver's attire. Silver, can you fetch the paper from the porch? Sure, I hear Olivia, so make sure I get the first stack since I was the first down. The second Silver stepped onto the porch, she could sense something was wrong. She never liked Brooklyn. It was always too violent and crowded for her taste. She looked around. There was no one in sight. However, the moment she bent down to get the paper, she felt a hot sting across her forehead. She stood up quickly to see a redhead across the street before she could focus on the woman. Another shot from her hand jetted toward Silver. Silver reflected the bolt, sending it flying back to the redhead. The woman took off in the air. She had a gold broom on which she rode. Crystal, now! Silver shouted, and her broom of brass and wood materialized. She hopped on it and began to chase the red-headed witch. Yes, brooms! Love it! Silver had to admit the witch was good on a broom, but Silver learned to master crystal from a child. Soon she dipped and came across, cutting the space between them in half. When Silver got close, she threw a wind ball at her. She threw a wind ball at the redhead, flipping her off her broom. She watched the witch free fall, then slowly land on her feet. Silver cursed. I should have hit her with a bolt of lightning, killing the bitch. It was too late. The witch was gone. Where have you been? Aunt Grace asked. Silver entered the room with the newspaper. Flying around. I was attacked by a red-headed witch. You were what? Olivia shouted as she bolted out of her chair. Silver turned her head, revealing the scratch across her forehead. She took off on her broom. I followed, but she got away. Did you recognize her? Olivia asked. No. Well, that was very dangerous going after her like that, Aunt Grace announced sternly. Hit me, and I'm going to hit you back, Silver replied with her hands on her hips. Amen, sister, Olivia added. Well, sit down and eat. I'll get you some ice and ointment for that scratch, Aunt Grace said. No need. Olivia held out her hand and mumbled a few words as she ran a finger across the abrasion, causing it to fade away. I forgot how exciting it is to be young and magical, Aunt Grace said. After breakfast, they sat down at the long table in the dining room and listened to Olivia read Mason Weber's journal. A few times she stopped and they discussed a passage or mulled over a particular saying. When Olivia tired, Silver took over reading at the same tempo as her sister. The more she read, the more Silver became convinced her grandfather was a madman. Nothing made sense. Everything was written in cloaked rhymes or cryptic nonsense. Nothing directed them to the goblet or even where to begin to find it. Okay, I for one need a break. I really need to get back home to my life and ultimately my job, Silver announced, and she stood and stretched the tight muscles in her legs. You plan on going to work? Olivia asked. Yes. What do you think I'm going to do? Hang out here forever? No, of course not. But after the attack today, I figured you'd at least wait until we can get a handle on this, Olivia replied. A handle on what, Liv? We have a nutty, dead grandfather who refuses to help us, a journal full of riddles, and an unknown person or persons out to get a goblet that may or may not exist. So tell me, sister dear, what are we supposed to get a handle on? Well, my ass is calling in sick for a couple of days. At least this way I can figure out what our next step will be, Olivia said in a matter-of-fact tone. Or us, we, ugh, I don't care about any of this shit. I'm sorry, Aunt Grace, but I think we need to just turn the book over to the next assailant who comes to the door. I think we need to find out a little more before admitting defeat, Silver. I understand your reluctance, but we need you. I need you, Aunt Grace cried. Fine, but if we don't come any closer to figuring out exactly what's going on, I'm out. O-U-T, out. That's fair enough. Give it a week, Olivia said. No, Liv, 3 days. 3 days and not an hour more, Silver stated and with a snap of her fingers, she was gone. And that's all I'm reading. Yeah, that's definitely all I'm reading because then it gets into a long section. Alrighty, so is it going to take 3 days or what? Gotta know. So I know it's free on KU. How much is it, Raven? And what other platforms can you find it on? It doesn't have to be. Or shut your mouth. Yeah, I know it. It's not a very long book, from what I can tell. Let's see. Chapter 3 was really long, though. It's got 12 chapters, so it's not that long. I got you a quarter of the way through it almost. So, yeah. So, Amazon's got it on KU. And stop. And she has another series called Someone From Me. And then she's got 4 standalones. Ooh, a wolf, a lion. Oh, black tie affair. Ooh, and she's got a sequel coming up to the wolf one. And then she's got another one called The Sword in the Sheath. Ooh, we like that word, sheath. All right, ladies, if you're going to buy it, read it, leave a review. So, I know. Ori's been finding all these good books lately. So, might have to give her a raise. Oh, no, wait a minute. I just did, didn't I? You're welcome, Poppy. Then get the book and read it, Ori. For those of you that don't know, Ori is Nina. She's Ori on her phone and she's Nina on her computer. So it's a long story. Just that's why we talk to her like we do. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Alrighty. So tomorrow night, I have E.S. McMillan, otherwise known as Ebony and Ivory. Sorry. And it is all around the sour gummy patch. Yum. Yes. It's on KU and Books, Barnes and Noble. The mysterious Ori. I don't know. She's kind of quiet though, isn't she? I might like her better than I do Nina. Nina talks too much. So, all right, ladies, if you've got, since I got some of my regulars on here tonight, if you have any, if you know of any authors I've not read before, talk to them and see if you can get them on here. See if you can get them in touch with Nina. And don't get them in touch with Ori. Ori don't know what she's doing, but Nina does. So get them in touch with Nina and see if we need some fresh blood like Miss Raven tonight. It was good, Raven. I like that. All righty. Well, you ladies have a good night. I'm going to batten down the hatches and get ready for the storm coming in because it should be about here. So, all righty. You guys have a good evening and happy reading.